Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel and to a new episode of What Have I Been Watching. What have I been watching since the last episode of What Have I Been Watching? Got some physical media stuff here that we're going to take a look at. Also, I'm going to talk about the TV things that I've been watching and the stuff that I've been viewing, the newer sort of cinema films, those films that I've been seeing, including Captain America, Brave New World. Give you my thoughts on that one. So let's get into it. Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. And yeah, so what have I been watching over the past few weeks? Now, I don't do individual reviews anymore. That ship has sailed. I just think I'd combine them all into one video like this. Why not? So the way we're going to do this week is I'll do the TV stuff first and I'll get onto the physical media, and I'll talk about those sort of cinema films at the end, because there might be more of a spoiler discussion therein that people might not want to hear about, or you may want to hear about, for Captain America. As well as I watched, what was the other one I saw? It was Wolfman. I saw that as well. So we're going to talk about those two at the latter part of the video. But yeah, so first off, let's get into the TV stuff, because there isn't a great deal of it. Okay, so Harley Quinn, the animated TV show. I watched the first episode of that. It's moved to Metropolis. Harley and Ivy have moved to Metropolis, got a place in Metropolis. Sort of freshen things up a bit, I guess, in the show. Can't really say much more than that. It's a show that I enjoy. I'm glad that it's back on, but I only watched one episode. I can't really go in depth about that one, so I shan't. Next up is Dexter. Now, this is the latter two episodes of Dexter, and my thoughts on this remain consistent as it did before. But a bit of concern did come into play in these latter couple of episodes. So basically, yeah, I think this is a great show. I think this new Dexter series, with a new cast, younger Dexter, I think it's great. It actually works. It really does. It's probably one of the best sort of, let's go back and do an origin show with a new cast, same characters. It hits the nail on the head. It's really sort of revitalized Dexter for me. So much so that I am going to go and start watching Dexter again from season 1 upward. So my thoughts remain the same. I think the geezer who plays Dexter is spot on. He's fantastic. He's got the mannerisms down. The voice is just great. When Michael C. Hall does the voiceover, I've got no disconnect between the two actors whatsoever. It just works. That being said, the element of this show that had me a bit concerned coming into these latter two episodes was the inclusion of Dexter's brother, who would be the ice truck killer in season 1 of Dexter. Because, hold on a minute, does this step on the toes of season 1 and what happens in season 1 and how the ice truck killer comes to be, and the fact that he's dating Deb, as I recall, and things like that, and Dexter not knowing about his brother? And I'm glad to say that they've written it in such a way that no, it doesn't step on the toes of season 1 of the show, which is great. So there's that. So we'll get that one out of the way. That's it for TV that I've been watching at the moment. I did watch a film that I haven't got on physical media. Now, this film is called The Art of Racing in the Rain. I believe it came out in about 2018, 2019. It stars Milo Vigilamiankioko, whatever his name is. The geezer is the main star of, who could arguably be the main star of Heroes, and he played Rocky Balboa's son in the film Rocky Balboa, the 6th Rocky film, among other things, but most probably famous for Heroes. The film also stars Amanda Seyfried. There's a young girl in it who I did recognise, and at the end I IMDb'd her, and she's actually the main girl in Star Wars Skeleton Crew, and she was in the film with Nicolas Cage, the Western, The Old Way, which I thought was a really good film. So I did recognise her, but I had to Google it. The film also has the voice of Kevin Costner as a dog, because this is a film about essentially, well, it ain't about a dog, but it's one of those sort of dog films where the dog's got an inner monologue. Okay, the dog doesn't speak, but it's got an inner monologue. Now, generally with this type of film, actually I'll come back to that. What I'll first say is that I watched this because of Chris over at Cypher Sigma Screen Time. Now, he's mentioned this film to me several times in the past. I have looked at it. Getting a hold of it on physical media is a difficult one. I don't think it was ever released here in the UK for some unknown reasons. You have to import it as a kind of region 1 kind of effort. I took the other option. I downloaded it, okay? So I sat down and watched this film. Now, like I said, it's about a dog, or it's a big part of the element of the film is a dog. It's a story of a dog and his life, while you got the human's lives going on as well. It's a very mature film. Now, normally these films are made as sort of like family entertainment, so to speak. I wouldn't necessarily say this film is aimed at family entertainment. I'd say it's more adult orientated because of the themes that it plays with. A lot of themes of family, of life, of death, of fighting custody of children, and this sort of stuff comes into play in the film. Elements of neglect, I suppose, to the dog at certain points. Only really one point in the film. So it plays heavy on its themes, and not only that, the sort of inner monologue of the dog itself, voiced by Kevin Costner, like I said, is very heavy. It's very language heavy, and I don't mean language heavy as in bad language. What I mean is a lot of use of syntax and grammar and words that would go over the head of children, that just wouldn't they wouldn't see it, they wouldn't understand it, they wouldn't grasp the meaning of this sort of stuff. So it's a very mature film in what it does. It's very well acted. It's and what can I say without, I don't want to ruin the film. It's a very strong film. We've got the main character, Milo Ventimiglia, whatever his name is. He's like a race car driver, and he meets his girlfriend, Amanda Seyfried. They get married, they have kids. Ultimately, stuff happens in their life that is, like I said, loss and all this sort of a thing, and custody battles of children. I won't go into detail, but like I said, very heavy with what it does. Chris said that it would have me crying at the end, and he was not wrong. It's a very emotional journey of a film, especially if you are a dog lover. If you love dogs, it's it was a great film. Would I watch it again? Yeah, I would. Would I get it on physical media? Yeah, I think so. I think I'll probably hunt it down at some point. I don't know when, but yeah, most certainly I will try and get a hold of this, whether it's DVD, Blu-ray. I don't care what format it is on, but it's one that it was a good watch, and I highly recommend it. So yeah, so we're going to get into the physical media side of things now, prior to jumping back into cinema-y stuff. So like I said, I've got this little lot here to get through. So first of all, I'll pick these out this way around, because two of them are TV related stuff. So first up is my continued watch of Elementary. It has slowed down somewhat. My watching of this has started to creep down, simply because I'm watching a lot more stuff around it. Okay, now we're at season 3. We're still at the beginning of season 3. I have gotten used to the English girl that's in it. That I'm sorry, I forget who it was. One of my commenters, when I said I recognised her and I couldn't be bothered to say where she was from, I know her from Hooten and the Lady, and subsequently that has made me order Hooten and the Lady on cheap DVD. Yes, which was an English sort of action adventure kind of find treasure kind of a show that lasted one season. She's grown on me in this now. She's pretty good. So yeah, where are we at with this? What can I say about it other than I'm still enjoying it? However, there was one thing that really bugged me about one of the episodes. I'll get on to this now because obviously, as you may or may not be aware, I have a pet tortoise, among other things, right? His tank is just beside his vivarium is just beside the where I sit here, right? So he's a bit sleepy at the moment because obviously it's a bit colder. So anyway, so Sherlock has got a tortoise in this show. However, it did bug me that he referred to it, and the English girl referred to it as a turtle. Okay, now in America, they say, you know, they've got no distinct definition in name between turtle and tortoise, and they're turtles. You've got a land turtle, you've got a water turtle, essentially. That's how it is in my mind for the Americans. They say turtle. It's a turtle, right? And, you know, Sherlock refers to it as a turtle, as does the English girl, a turtle. Yet in other episodes, he's picking up people on English language and things like that. And I'm thinking, hold on a minute. You're English. You're Sherlock Holmes to start with. You'd have corrected that. You wouldn't be calling it a turtle. You wouldn't go with the American name for it. So, you know, if I was playing Sherlock as an English person, I'd be saying, hold on a minute. No, I would never call it, you know, as an actor, I'd say to the director or whatever, I'd say, I'd never call it a turtle. I'd make a distinct, you know, thing that it's a tortoise, that it's a, you know, I would do that, and I'd slot it into the show. It didn't make any difference. But anyway, so that kind of bugged me in a sense. So we'll leave that one there. But yeah, I'm enjoying the rewatches, but yes, they've slowed down. Now, another one that I've pulled off the shelf to watch, and I've only watched the first 3 episodes at present, and it's only a 6-episode series, and that is Police Squad. Yeah, the TV show that came prior to the Naked Gun series. I watched some of there were some clips coming up on YouTube for some reason, and those clips sort of make me, oh, I'll go and watch that. I'll watch that. I'm getting a lot of Family Guy clips at the moment. And yeah, so I watched the first 3 episodes. Very funny. Very funny. Obviously, a lot of the jokes are you do see come up again in the films of Naked Gun. You know, they're sort of reworked into that. There are also some jokes that, you know, you just never get away with today. There was a bit where, and I was in Stitches, where they said, these 2 people said, well, let's go and discuss this in the Japanese garden. And they walk out into this garden area outside this building, and there's like, there are Japanese people all stood in different plant pots. And I just thought, you know, that's very funny, very funny. You wouldn't get away with that today. That would be considered racism, no doubt. You know, but yeah, so very funny. So I'm looking forward to the final 3 episodes of that. Obviously, Leslie Nielsen is great in the role of Frank Drebin. He's very, very good. Yeah, it's a great character. And I do think that the Naked Gun film is better than Airplane. I will say that. Airplane, I struggle with Airplane as a film. I don't think it's as funny as what people make it out to be. A lot of the jokes don't really hit for me. They miss. But for that, for Naked Gun and this, it's far better a film and series. So delving into some Blu-ray now. And I watched this again because of one of the commenters who said they were going to do a submarine week. When they watch just submarine films, and you know, I like a submarine film. I mean, behind me, look, I've got Stingray there, and I've got Sequest DSV set up there, just because, you know, I've got this liking for submarines and submarine films. So I bought this when it came out on 4K. I hadn't yet watched it, and I think this steelbook was advertised in this country and then got withdrew. We didn't get it. I don't know if it ever did come out as a UK version, but I got it from, I think that's French, or something. Anyway, so it's the film U571. Okay, I sat down and watched U571, which is submarine film. It's got a great cast in it. Okay, so you got Matthew McConaughey, you've got Bill Paxton. Okay, you got Harvey Keitel. Bon Jovi's in it, but that doesn't go as great casting. Yeah, I mean, he's in it. anyway, but yes, it's got a good cast, got a strong cast, and it's about an American crew that has their submarine outfitted to look like a German submarine to try and get onto this stricken submarine sent out for help and need supplies, and they go and board that because they're after capturing the Enigma machine. Now, this film obviously upset a lot of people when it came out here in the UK because it's kind of like a revisionist history kind of a movie where it kind of plays out that it was the Americans that captured the Enigma machine. And although they did later on down the line, the initial ones weren't captured by the Americans. There is a bit at the end of the film that does say this. I think that was put in because of the uproar over it. So now, how do I feel about that side of things? I mean, I don't really care in a sense. I know what I'm watching is revisionist history. The fact remains that, you know, this is a damn fine sort of popcorn submarine World War II movie. It's directed by Jonathan Mostow, who directed Breakdown with Kurt Russell and went on to direct Terminator 3, which I have a lot of fun with as well. And I think it's a solid film. I really do. And, you know, the effects in it look great because we're at a point where we're using a lot of model work and things like this for the submarines. And, yeah, the sets of the submarines, inside the submarines, it all looks good. It all looks really, you know, spot on. And, yeah, I really enjoyed the film. I do remember my cinema trip to see it back in the day when it came out. Yeah, solid movie. Yeah, if not, you know, revisionist history kind of element. I mean, that might put some people off of the film completely. I understand that, but I can get away from that. I can step aside from that and say it's a fun film. But there we go. So next one that I watched is one of the ones that I pulled off my shelf to watch as a sort of like, I haven't seen this film, and it came in one of my other videos where we are when did I last watch that? And I pulled it off. And I sat down, I watched it, and it is the comedy License to Wed with Robin Williams, Mandy Moore, and John Krasinski. I picked it up very cheap. It would have been like a Poundland pickup or a cheap CEX pickup at the time on the back of John Krasinski, because I like John Krasinski. Robin Williams I enjoy as well. However, after watching it, I've decided I'm not going to keep it. I've asked Chris over Cypher Sigma if he would like it. He's got it on DVD, I believe. He said he would take the upgrade to Blu-ray. So that's going his way because I wouldn't ever watch it again. While it was an okay one-time watch, it's been a week since I watched it. And to be honest, a lot of it has gone from my mind. I'm struggling to recall much about it. I mean, I remember a bit with the robotic babies, when they're trying, you know, like to have kids and all this sort of thing. Yeah, it's quite a forgettable movie for me, quite forgettable. So that's going down there because that's going the way of the dodo, so to speak. Next up, I thought I would revisit this film on the back of the new trailer for the new version, and that is Fantastic Four, the original of the two. The Ian Griffith, and yeah, you got a great cast here. You got Ian Griffith, you got Chris Evans, obviously, you got Michael Chiklis, hot off of The Shield as Ben Grimm, and you got Jessica Alba. Okay, Jessica Alba's sort of part Mexican heritage, so she ain't as sort of blonde and blue-eyed as what you imagine Sue Storm to be. But come on, Johnny Storm was black in the Fan Four Stick. See, they didn't go that far with the race swapping kind of an element. And let's be fair, Jessica Alba is quite nice on the eyes. I ain't got a problem with her in the role whatsoever. I know in the sequel they did blonde her up more, and I think they gave her blue contact lenses, which just looks a bit freaky anyway. But anyway, so this first one here. So obviously, no, not obviously, but the version I watched was the non-extended cut, was the theatrical cut. Now the extended cut is available on DVD. I do have that somewhere kicking around, but I didn't even think of that or remember that until this film came to an end, that there's an extended cut. it's 20 minutes longer. I actually didn't realise that it was that length in difference, although I have seen it back in the day. So like I said, I watched this film on the back of the trailer for the new Fantastic Four film, which didn't really excite me in any way, shape or form. Reason being is because I don't understand what people want from Fantastic Four. You know, Fantastic Four as a comic is a very light, fluffy kind of Marvel comic, not a dark tone, dark themed comic book whatsoever. It's about family and all this sort of a thing, Marvel's first family, and the film actually captures that really damn well, as does the one before it, the 1994 Roger Corman film. All right, so although watching the film, I thought, okay, this, you know, I feel like I'm growing beyond this sort of a film now. I feel like I want more from a movie. I wouldn't say that it's a bad film. It's not. It does a lot right in you know, in bringing the comic book to the screen. It's got the it works for the most part, and it makes me wonder why I don't get the hate that the film gets, to be honest, other than the fact that it's very light entertainment, almost kiddified. But that's what the Fantastic Four is, you know, and that's what the show is, or what the you know, what the comic is, and that's what this film is. So I don't really get what the new film can offer beyond this, because let's be fair, the new film is it looks similar in what it's doing, in you know, Johnny Storm being a hothead, and that's why he's got flames. Sue Storm feeling like she's never seen, never listened to, sort of thing, hence the invisibility. Ben Grimm being the strong man of the group, hence being Rock, and Reed Richards always stretching himself to get more, and hence he becomes stretchy, and those themes come into play in this new film, it would seem, by the trailer, and in this film. So yeah, I think more than anything, it's just I'm growing beyond that type of a film. But it's, you know, for the audience it's aimed at, it's a damn fine film. You know, will I watch Rise of the Silver Surfer next? We'll have to wait and see about that one. Not that I don't remember not enjoying Rise of the Silver Surfer, you know, and it's quite a short film, so I might sit down and watch that. Next up being a DVD, and I sat and watched. I pulled this off the shelf. I was going through stuff. I thought, oh, let's give it a visit, and it's Frequency. Dennis Quaid, Jim Caviezel. Now, both actors that I do really enjoy, and it's a film about, you know, father and son connecting because of some aurora borealis kind of effect in the sky, connecting this CB radio across the years so he can talk to his father in the past. His father has died when he was younger in a fire, and he prevents that. And then he finds out that his father then later dies of cancer, and then there's this stuff about this killer that's running around in the past and present day, and they're linked. And yeah, it's a good film. It's a good film. I ain't watched it for probably since the day of DVD, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. What more can I say about it? Dennis Quaid, like I said, I like. Jim Caviezel, I like. I think he's grown. I think I prefer him now than I did in his younger days here. But Dennis Quaid is always a decent watch, you know, back from like Enemy Mine and Inner Space and films like that. Dennis Quaid was always a worthwhile actor in movies. And yeah, there is a TV series of this, apparently. I say apparently because Chris Over Sigma mentioned there was a TV series. I was like, did I know that or didn't I know that? I think deep down in the subconscious of my mind, hidden away, forgotten, whatever, I did know that there was a TV series of it. It only lasted something like 13 episodes. I don't know if I'll visit the TV series now. Probably not, to be honest. I'm quite happy with just the film. And yeah, and then even watching that, you know, how I'm feeling now about physical media, I ain't got a problem with that just being on DVD. I can still sit down and watch the film, and the picture looked damn fine for a DVD. You know, I've seen some hideous DVDs, yes, but that was fine. I don't think it's got a Blu-ray in this Blu-ray release, to be honest. And then we're going to get to my final physical media watch before we talk about Captain America and Wolfman. All right, so with that final physical media watch, I decided to sit down and watch Jaws 2, 4K. Obviously, as you may or may not know, my favourite film of all time is Jaws. I did actually pick this cap up in the Forbidden Planet. Amity Island, Shark Tours, Jaws on the back, official Jaws baseball cap. Let's put that on for this chat. I picked that up. I was in the Forbidden Planet and I thought, oh, Jaws, I cannot not have that baseball cap, being a Jaws baseball cap. So anyway, yeah, I picked up these. Obviously, I picked 2, 3, and 4 up on 4K. I've watched 4, The Revenge, just to see how bad it actually is, the film. And I'll let you know that I've watched far worse in the way of shark films than Jaws 4, most definitely. Now, obviously, Jaws, like I said, favourite film of all time. No other Jaws film could touch that. No other Jaws film would be in my top 10 films of all time or anything like that. However, I hadn't watched this on 4K, and I'd watched it a few years ago, I think, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. I watched my Blu-ray of it. And it's a fine film. It's a fine sequel to Jaws. It's not a masterclass of filmmaking or anything like that, but there's enjoyable elements to be had within the movie. You know, there are some decent effects work, stuff like that with the shark. There's also some bad effects work with the shark, but there we go. Not as bad as what it became in the later films, but I like the journey that the character of Brody goes on in this film. He feels like he's grown as a character between the 2 films. He's far more assertive in this film than what he was in the first film. He's more of a yes man, very subdued, quieter, so to speak. But in this film, he's far more assertive, like with the mayor and stuff like that, than what he was in the first film. So it's nice to see this character growth and the journey that he goes on through the course of the movie. Obviously, Roy Scheider didn't want to return for this movie, but he had to. I think it was The Deer Hunter where there was problems, and he left the production, and he had 2 more films under his contract with Universal, and they let him have a 2-for-1 if he'd done Jaws, so to speak, to let him out of his contract. I believe he didn't get on with the director very well, and you can sort of, I think that helped in his performance in the film, in all honesty, in the way he comes across as a bit, like I said, more assertive, meaner, rougher, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, it was an enjoyable watch. It looked great on 4K, and yeah, I mean, you know, it's not Jaws. It's not as good as Jaws, but it's, again, it's, you know, far worse shark films exist and are being made today than Jaws 2. It's a decent sequel, a half-decent sequel, I should say. You know, nowhere near as good as the first, not as bad as what it could be, enjoyable enough. It does the job. So there we go. So that's the last of the physical media watches. So I think that was all of them there. I don't think I put anything else anywhere else. What was it? Police Squad, Elementary, Jaws 2, Frequency, Fantastic Four, U571. So let's talk cinema. Yeah, those newer films that have not long been out. So The Wolfman comes first. Okay, so I know that Wolfman was made on quite a minimalistic budget. Okay, I think it was only about, maybe, I want to say somewhere in the region of about $25–30 million. It wasn't an expensive film. I may be wrong with that in the amount that I said, but it wasn't an overly expensive film. Does it come from the people who made The Invisible Man several years back? Possibly. There's possibly a link there somewhere. So for this film here, now I've seen the trailer. I know that everyone kicked off about what the Wolfman looks like and this sort of thing in the trailer. that does come into play in the film and the reasons why. It's a very nicely shot film. It looks really good. The setting looks nice, all this sort of a thing. You know, it starts off with a young boy hunting with his father. They're attacked by something, obviously a wolf man. You don't see it, you just see the claw marks. And then you jump forward about 30 years and the young boy has grown up. He's got a wife, he's got a kid, and he gets notification that his father has... He's gone missing. His father's gone missing, basically, and is now, after an amount of time, has been legally classed as dead, has passed away because time has passed and his body's never been recovered or anything like that. And they head back out to the woods where his father lived, in this farmhouse kind of a thing, deep in this woodland. And obviously strange things starts happening, and Wolfman attacks, and the father himself gets injured, gets a scratch, and slowly starts to turn himself slowly. And this is where the sort of, oh, look at the effects of the Wolfman, look at how he looks, because it's a slow process of transformation. Things start changing slowly in his look, you know, teeth falling out and things like that, alterations to his speech, and that element of it I really liked. And I really liked the sort of bird's eye view of the Wolfman, because there's there's, as he's changing, is you know, and his family just think he's sick, his wife and daughter, and they can't communicate with him because he can't communicate. You know, it's sort of talking guttural kind of noises and this sort of a thing. You see from his perspective, and he can't understand what they're saying. It's like they've changed. Their voices have changed, so he can't understand their voices either. And their eyes are glowing and this sort of a thing, and because his vision is different and he sees things different. And I like that. I like that kind of element of it. You've got the other Wolfman in the woods, you know, the more developed Wolfman that, lo and behold, spoiler warning, yeah, it's his father, which, yeah, obviously it's going to be. And he has to fight his father to protect from his family. But as he's turning, he's going, you know, more after his family, but preventing himself, so to speak, until the end that they end up, it's mirroring the start of the film where they're up in this hidey hole up high, you know, sort of deer place where you can shoot from a high, and it's sort of like the beginning is reenacted at the end, but now 30 years later, and he doesn't want this to carry on for him. He wants this to end what he's going through, because he's still got a connection to his daughter. There's stuff between him and his daughter that still connects him to them, and this sort of thing. And you know what, it wasn't a bad film. I didn't think it was a bad film at all. You know, I think I'd watch it again. I think I'd probably, you know, I think at the time when I watched it, I said, no, I wouldn't pick it up on physical media. You know, it'd be some time before, it might be some time before I watch it again. I think it'd be one of those films that, yeah, I'd pick up, not when it comes out, maybe a CEX pick up down the line or a sale pick up. But as I'm talking about it now, I'm thinking, you know, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. It wasn't a bad film at all. So there we go. Next one, the biggie, Captain America, Brave New World. Okay, let's talk about that one. Now, Captain America, Brave New World, as you know, is the latest film from Marvel Studios, the latest MCU movie. What is it, 37, 38 films now, or project? I don't know, I've lost count. It's the fourth Captain America film, with Anthony Mackie in the lead role as the character of Captain America. Okay, Harrison Ford joins the cast as General Thaddeus Ross. Obviously, what's his face who previously played it? William Hurt was it, who passed away. Yeah, it's obviously, now going into this film, you really do need to have seen Captain America and you need to have seen Falcon and Winter Soldier. Okay, there's elements that come into play from that in this, with the inclusion of the first black Captain America, Isaiah Bradley, who is from the comics. He's a super soldier, not Captain America, but first super soldier kind of thing that was used during the earlier, first black Captain America, essentially. He comes into play. Anthony Mackie's Captain America has got a new sidekick, a new Falcon, essentially. He was introduced in the Winter Soldier, Falcon Winter Soldier TV show, and this sort of a thing. Now, Thaddeus Ross is now President of America. Annoyingly so, because in Secret Invasion, you had a new President of America that, by the end of that, put this new something into effect that has never come into play in the MCU. And now you got a new President of America. So that's, that's kind of gets that show out of the way, and that never came to pass, the ending of that sort of thing, and what that kind of tried to set up, which is a bit annoying. That was a rubbish show anyway, but that's beside the point. Now this film here does link in, which I liked, with the Incredible Hulk, Edward Norton's Incredible Hulk. Spoiler warnings, okay? Spoiler warnings. Although, is it spoilers? I don't know, but I think he does return very minutely. Liv Tyler as Betty Ross, which is great. See her back. The leader, Tim Blake Nelson, returns like 16 years later or whatever it is as that character. It's nice to know what's happened to that character. It works. It makes sense what they've done. The reason we haven't seen him. There's a bit of a twisty turn in stuff in the narrative of the story of what Thaddeus Ross has been doing, what the leader himself has been doing with Thaddeus Ross. There's people kind of secrets on top of secrets impacting other people and this sort of a thing. I liked that at the beginning they started to sort of highlight the difference about Steve Rogers to Sam Wilson. Steve Rogers in this starts off as essentially willingly working for the American government, for the president direct, which is something Steve Rogers would never really have done. He would have been not so much of a yes man as what Anthony Mackie starts this film off as to be. Now obviously there's the question of Anthony Mackie's, of the character's strength, right? Because he hasn't got the super soldier serum. However, his strength is enhanced by the suit that he's got, right? Because the suit has elements of tech to it to give it an enhancement. It's got vibranium in the wings and things like this, so it can absorb kinetic energy to then blast it back out and all this sort of a thing. The film also links it in with the what's that? The Eternals. That's the one. The Eternals. Right. If you remember, at the end of the Eternals, we're left with the big celestial in the Indian Ocean coming out. Right. Never has that been mentioned before since that occurred. Right. It's a big thing. It's a big thing. So it's nice to see that element comes into play. That plays a big part in this, in that the celestial in the Indian Ocean is called Celestial Island. Bases have been set up within, research facilities have been set up within it, and they're extracting stuff from it, ores from it, to use as technology here on Earth. And there's an ore in it that is stronger, denser than what vibranium is. And lo and behold, it's called adamantium. Snicked. Yeah, what Wolverine's claws are, his bones are covered in that side of Marvel Universe. So we've introduced adamantium into the MCU through way of the celestial being that died in the Indian Ocean. And a lot of the story is about getting this element and potential start to World War III, etc., etc. Now, obviously, you have Red Hulk. Anthony Mackie goes up against Red Hulk, and he defeats Red Hulk. I don't think I really like that element to it, in the sense that he defeated Red Hulk. I mean, he had to, it's his film. But it's like, I'm struggling to... I believe that even with your enhanced suit, you've been able to take down a Hulk. Do you know what I mean? It kind of weakens the Hulk status so to speak. So yeah, there is that as well. As films go, I think it's better than a lot of other MCU films that have come out of recent years. Eternals, Shang-Chi I wasn't a fan of at all. The Marvels, Thor Love and Thunder, it's certainly above them. I'd probably put it on par with maybe Black Widow. It's a lower tier Marvel film, I think. It's creeping into that sort of bottom third, maybe, of Marvel films, possibly, if I'd done a ranking. I'd really need to give it a rewatch again. Some of the reshoots are evident in the film, unfortunately, in that there's characters that and plot threads that just sort of vanish for no reason, characters that vanish for no reason, serpents and that sort of thing, things like that. There are some god-awful scenes where, especially at the end, where Anthony Mackie's stood there and it's clearly a like green screen or something. It's projected behind him. It really cheap, nasty looking, kind of done on a rush kind of a thing there. Unfortunately, Captain America is Steve Rogers. I think this film would have benefited more, or in my mind, it's like you could just call this Falcon Brave New World, and then you'd be fine. The Captain America element is Steve Rogers is Captain America and always will be. That's why, even though Sam Wilson is still a Captain America in the comics, he's not Steve Rogers, is he? He's not as big as, even in the comics, not as big as Steve Rogers. People just want Steve Rogers as Captain America at the end of the day. So yeah, it was it was a thingy film, middle low tier Marvel film, in my opinion. It was better than what I thought it would be, though, so that's positive. It's unfortunate to hear about some of the what could have been, because again, spoilers here. We'll go into spoilers more now, in the sense that the reason Thaddeus Ross has become Hulk is because of Tim Blake Nelson. So in the film, Tim Blake Nelson we haven't seen for years, because the leader since the events of Incredible Hulk is because he was captured and he was put into a facility, and Thaddeus Ross used him as his own personal think tank, so to speak, and he can see the outcomes of everything, sort of a thing. And and Thaddeus Ross is ill with his heart, and Tim Blake Nelson has developed a medicine for him to keep him alive, essentially, but he's dosed this medicine with gamma, and this is how gamma gets into the body of Ross and essentially turns him into a Hulk, because he's slowly been drip fed gamma by Tim Blake Nelson, by his character, through these pills that he thinks was keeping him alive, and which they were. And now one of the end scenes would have been you come to find out that the leader has managed to get his daughter Betty Ross drip fed with gamma, and it implies that she would have been a Hulk as well, which in the comics she did become Red Hulk. However, that was scrapped, and I wouldn't mind seeing that, to be honest with you. Whole family of Hulks, so to speak. But there we go. I'm not, they know better, shall we say. They know better, so there we go. We got what we got. There is an end credit scene. I won't really go into that. It is what it is. But yeah, we'll see what happens. It wasn't as bad as what I thought it would be, but nowhere near the highs of Marvel's previous efforts. Anyway, that's it. That's everything I've been watching. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. As always, let me know what you've been watching, any recommendations, anything like that. And you never know, I might give them a watch. See you on the next one.